Hello, we welcome you to the third WALTHAM Forest Cello Fest. We are following previous events program. It was one webinar with Belgian cellist Stijn Kuppens, and now we will have cello master classes with composer, conductor, educator, and artistic director Peter Askim. He is artistic director of the next Festival of Emerging Artists, and we will have now two young cellists, and Lilla Szabó from Hungary and George Wolfe-McGuire from the US. So we will start now. I'll just maybe put Peter on the stream. And here we are, and Lilla. So they will. Yeah, I think you can go from there, Peter. Yeah, just disappear.
Wonderful. It's so great to be here, and I'm really excited to hear these two cellists. I heard them just a little bit warming up, and they're really, really extraordinary young cellists. And they'll both be telling you what they're going to play, but maybe you could just introduce yourself and say a little bit about yourself, Lilla.
Yes, hello, I'm so happy to be here, and my name is Lilla Szabó, and I'm 17 years old, and now my teacher is Peter Szabó. He is the Budapest Festival Orchestra's solo cellist, and my mentor is Ádám Jávorkai, who is also one of my friend. Yes, and now I'm in the conservatorium, and the next year will be my last year here, and I want to go to Köln in Germany to a college. So yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what are you going to be playing today?
Today I will play Johann Sebastian Bach B minor suite, the Allemande movement.
Wonderful. Great. Whenever you're ready. Thank you. So wonderful. Really, really wonderful. So musical, and obviously you have, all of the technique is super under control.
Thank you.
So yeah, really, really wonderful to hear. So tell me what you know about the piece, or your thoughts, or how you're approaching it. And we can get into some details, but I want to know kind of, what do you think? What's your approach?
This is a German dance, and I don't know. and I play slowly.
Okay. Do you have recordings or cellists that you like, that you listen to, that you're inspired by, or how do you come to your interpretation?
Yes, I really like Perrin Miklos,
Okay.
and I usually hear him.
Great. Well, let's talk about, like I said, technically you can do anything, and there's no problems with this. Let's just talk about, in general, the Bach suites. There's many different editions, and there's a lot of different interpretations and different ways to play things, right? So we'll only talk about some suggestions, but there's many different approaches. I do want to encourage you to go as close to the Anna Magdalena Bach manuscript as you can. So there's many different editions, and the music that I got sent ahead of time has some dynamics and has some different things. We want to try and get as close to what Bach wrote as possible, so he didn't write dynamics in the suites, right? So try and get to as close to Anna Magdalena Bach, who is his wife.
Yes.
Yes, she has, she did the closest edition that we have to the original. Yeah. So that's interesting, but we don't need to talk about picky things like that. But yeah, so maybe we can start from the beginning and just play. I'll stop you when I have a couple things to say. Wonderful. Good. So there's a couple things that I really think about a lot in Bach. One is the architecture, big scale. Do you know? Where are the big landing spots?
Yeah.
And then I also think a lot about the line and how we keep the line going. Tell me where you think there are different landing spots. Maybe play from the beginning and stop when you feel like this is one phrase.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Good. So that's everything goes to there at the beginning.
Yes.
Right? So let's work on that just a little bit. So
Okay.
can we talk about your pickup notes? So the Auftakt, the pickup, the very first note, for me feels like ta ta. Can it already be in motion? So ta ta. Do you know what I mean? It
Yes.
feels a little separate. It should feel ha. Just play first two notes. Yes, good. Now can you use a little bit more bow on the first? Good. And can it feel like ta-ta? So it's like you're falling into somebody's arms that you love. So it's, I know I'm a little bit crazy, so it's okay. But to me, the first two notes should feel like ta-ta. Like the person that you love most in the world, you see them after 15 months of quarantine, and you just want to kiss them. Can you play those first two notes like you want to kiss the person? So it feels like maybe you're not sure. Can you go, yes, kiss, big hug, your best friend that you don't. The craziest thing is it feels a little bit careful. Okay, ta-ta. It doesn't matter if it sounds bad. Just try it. Crazy, big hug. Yes, I love it. Right? It's because the first note already is falling into the second note. It's already in the tempo. Before I felt like it was a little bit careful, a little bit separate from, right? But after 15 months of COVID, right, we want to be excited. Yeah?
Yes.
Good. And now let's talk about, so the low la, the low A on the fourth beat, right, maybe is some kind of arrival point, right? That's good. That's good. So let's try and make it go all the way to that chord, right? So what I'm feeling now, so said we would talk about two things. One is architecture, right? So we know that we go to that D minor chord on the second measure. The second thing is line. So I think of musical line like a piece of string. Do you know what I mean? Like a piece of very fine string that we pull, and it has to be tight. And if it dips, then the line stops. Yeah. So can you make it like a big all the way to the chord without too many bumps on the road, right? So right now it's a little bit bumpy, but it should be like an airplane and not a skateboard.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. I love it. To me, that feels like we're giving this, we're falling into the arms of this person that we haven't seen for so long. It feels so good. It feels so good. To me, on the second bar, the downbeat, you stop a little bit. Yeah. So can you try two ways for me? Can you go to the downbeat of bar 2? And away, and diminuendo. And the second way is go try both ways. Yeah. Good. Can you do one more time and exaggerate that we go to the F, and big diminuendo. Just try. Okay, very interesting. Now try the other way where you go to the chord and don't stop on the F. I think either way can be fine, but I think it's interesting to try those things.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes when we know, the term cadence, right? Right, where we have like we go from the dominant or the diminished chord to the tonic, right? The end of the phrase. Sometimes it's interesting to try not to land on the cadence, Sometimes we know it's coming, so it's interesting to kind of try the opposite. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I'm just giving you some ideas. Yeah. So let's try, make a choice. Either way, doesn't matter to me. And let's do it one more time. But think about the way that we get from the second note to the third note. Because now your first two notes are very good. Yeah, Tom. And then I feel the line stops a little bit. How do we play that second note so it keeps us going? Do you understand? So if you da da or da da, do you understand?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, very good. Wonderful. I think it's so good. I think it's good. Let me be very, very picky, because to me it feels a little bit like bumpy, a little bit like a skateboard and not an airplane. Okay, da 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 da. Little bit stuck. Can you think da 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 da? Just so you're only thinking every 2 beats at all. Do you know what I mean? Instead of every beat or every 8th note. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love it. I love it so much because now it's so clear where you're going. Architecture is clear and you have lots of things happening, but we know where you're going. Okay, so now I'd like to ask you, can you play the first 2 phrases?
Yes.
Right, so keep going and just think about the first phrase. You know, Bach is often very much like language. The first phrase is saying something, and the second phrase is saying something else.
Yes.
Okay. Keep going. Yeah. So I think it was excellent. I love the first phrase, and I love the idea. It felt like you were telling us something, then you tell us something else. It's really good. I feel that we can keep going just until the octaves. Try one more time, and this time we'll go on. One thing to think about in measure 2. How do we want to play the pickup to the chord? Where does that belong?
The second chord.
Yeah, the third chord, measure 3.
I don't know.
Okay, try something. What I want you to think about is we have the chord in measure 2,
Yes.
D, A, D, and then we have the chord in measure 3, D, A, F sharp, C. Huh? But in between these few notes, I'm not sure what you want with those. Okay? Okay. So, but before you play, think about, question, answer, or saying something and something else, but also think about this feeling of your friend or your best friend or your dog or whatever.
Okay.
Great. Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. So beautiful. I love it. Can I just ask you one last thing? So I like to be very picky, and then you can change things. In measure 3, you have dotted 8th, 16th note.
Yes.
Yeah? And then the next measure, you have dotted 8th, 16th note with the F and the A together.
Yes.
Right? For me, between the long note and the short note, you remember we talk about the line?
Yes.
It goes da, ba, da, da. We lose a little energy. Can you keep the airplane over? Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I think.
Instead of da 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 ba ba. Up. Okay?
Okay.
Beautiful. Great. So nice. I really love it. I really love it. So then let's take this phrase which begins with the beginning to measure 6. I really love it. There's some times where I feel like we get stuck and bumpy. And where I feel like all of this, measure 6, 7, 8, 9, goes until measure 9 on the third beat.
Yeah.
You know, this very strange thing. So can you start in halfway through measure 5 or pick up to measure 6? And everything goes until measure 9, beat 3.
Okay. Then I go to the beginning.
You can start measure 6 with pickup.
The problem is I don't have a piece.
Oh, you don't have it. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah,
Start from the beginning, but we go all the way to the tritone, the D sharp and A.
Okay.
Yeah. So everything in that big long phrase goes to there. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. For me now, this has line, it has architecture, right? And you can show us some musical things along the way, but now we know where you're going.
Yeah.
It's very, very beautiful. How does it feel? How does it feel? Feel okay or not?
I think it's better.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it feels like you don't like it or something, but for me, it's very, very clear.
No, I like it. I like it.
Yeah. And then you can do other things along the way, but that's so clear. Can we start from there and we keep on going?
Okay.
Yeah. Very good, very good. Just one very small thing. Excellent, excellent. So the very last measure, you know, where you play the low A.
Yes.
Yeah. Very clear arrival. I really love it. And then you give us a little bit more on beat 3 too. But can you try the whole last measure, the first half, with a big diminuendo? So we don't get something big emphasis on beat 3. So go the same place you started.
Okay.
I love that. So just to stop and say I love that. It's because it feels like, this is what I have to say. Amen. You know, rather than this is what I have to say, but I forgot to say this. Do you understand? It's very elegant. So now second half. And just take 1 second to think about the things that we talked about, because the same ideas, right?
Okay.
So just hear in your head what you want to think about. We talk about line.
Yes.
We talk about architecture. We talk about airplane versus the skateboard, right? Just think about that and then play the whole second half.
Okay.
I think it's really excellent. It feels sometimes a little bit bumpy to me, and it's like, you know, with texting, you know, if everything is in all capital letters, everything is important, then it's not everything is important. Then nobody listens. Yeah? Can you play one more time? Think about the first two notes, right?
Yes.
And think about this is somebody that you haven't seen for 15 months, and you have so much to tell them. And you can't wait to say, oh my God, this is what happened to me with COVID, and I have to tell you about this and everything that happened to me. And this is what happened. And then, oh, I so happy to see you. Do you know what I mean? It has this feeling of everything. Okay? Beautiful. Oh, it's so exciting, you know, and it's so, I feel like I want to know what you have to tell me. Really, really great. I have one request. One request. Do you have two low Ds in the last measure?
Yes.
Yeah, you're worried about getting back up to the high D?
Yes.
And you leave a little bit too soon, you know? Yeah. That should feel like that note continues on. So don't rush off of it.
Okay.
Yeah? So just play, you know, the last few measures or something. Good. So even though you leave that note, it continues on in space, you know? So wonderful. So it's really wonderful. I mean, now I feel like you have this gorgeous architecture that we see where you're going, and everything along the way is very beautiful, but it's also so clear. Yeah? How does it feel? Horrible?
It's much better.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much for playing, Lilla. It was so beautiful to hear you play. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, George.
Hi.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'll be playing the first movement of Dvorak Cello Concerto. Right now, I'm going to be a senior in high school, where I study at Juilliard Pre-College with Professor French.
Fantastic. Very lucky. Wonderful. Wonderful. So first movement of Dvorak, I'll probably will stop you after a little bit, and I'm really looking forward to it. Wonderful, George. George, wonderful, great, really, really beautiful playing. There's several things that we can talk about there. Wonderful, great. So, how long have you been working on this?
About a month, I think.
Oh, fantastic! Really, really great work. Okay, so one of the things that I was talking about with Lilla was line and architecture, and the idea that we want to keep, there's a kind of connectedness and musical tension and direction in the line, that we have to keep everything moving forward and kind of with a larger goal in mind. So we have to, the way that he writes this is very unusual with lots of sforzandos, right? And so I was also using the example of, when you're texting and you're using all caps, right? Basically you're shouting over text. Like, it gets people's attention right away, but then if everything is important, nothing is important after a little while. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how do we balance this idea that he has lots of these sforzandos? Like, so he's writing with a lot of all caps, right? But they're not all equally important. And they serve towards a larger goal, larger phrase goal. So can you play from the beginning? And so in particular, let's try, we can make music vertically or horizontally. And by that, I mean, yum, da, 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 or ya, da, 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 da. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we want to be careful on, for instance, like dotted 8th, 16th notes, and on the chords, that we keep them moving forward. Go ahead. Okay. Can you feel the second beat in the first two measures you play? Really feel that second beat internally. And then when you get to the even though in the third measure you play before the triple stop, you need to prepare, but we also need to give the illusion that that note is continuing on. You know what I mean? I felt like there's a little bit of a break and a little bit of a hole before the first chord.
Okay.
And then keep going through the chords. I thought that was really, really excellent. And now that the direction is clear, I feel like you can take more time on the chords if you want, as long as we know horizontally where they're going. Does that make sense? Because it feels good to kind of dig into them and let them have their own life, right? As long as we know where it's going to. And for me, feeling that second beat of the measure really makes a difference. It makes it really powerful there. So why don't you go one more time from the beginning and continue on. Great. Really nice. I think you can take a little bit more time with the chords if you want. You can do a little vibrato. You can make them sing. Now it's super clear where they're going. So I think there's a little bit more space there. Okay. So let's look. Do you have the music with you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So on the second line where you have beginning the 16th notes, right? Each beat has a sforzando on it, right? I feel like they can't all be equally important, right? I mean, I think what he's trying to say is that there's this really spirit of proclamation and declamation, but I think we have to choose which of them are a little bit more important. And then when we get to the fortissimo, then notice that he doesn't have those accents, right? And a lot of people, there's a lot of different ways to play this. But I just think that it's interesting that we have the accents, those two measures before, and then this last thing, we don't have any accents until the last 5/16 notes, pesante to the whole note. So can you play beginning the 16th notes on the second line all the way through to the low note, right? But just think about which ones are more important and be thinking about where you're ultimately going. That was really great. I felt like the arrival was super clear at the end of it. What's your plan? What are you thinking about in those first two measures? In terms of which notes, which sforzandos are a little bit more important than the others?
I'm thinking that maybe to show to show the beginning of.
Yeah, excellent. And then is there like a kind of secondary one in each of those measures? Felt like there was.
I think if next then
Okay.
The second D.
Okay, great. So let's do that again and then continue on. And then one thing that I want to just mention is when we get to the long notes, do you know what's happening in the orchestra? So for instance, that low F sharp and then the trills that happen the next line.
I think I'm playing with winds.
Okay, can you, I think if play this time and hear the orchestra in your head while you're playing those long notes. That will help you to keep in character and play the correct length of long notes. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really excellent. I thought that was really, really excellent. And I think I would stress as much as possible, really know the score and the orchestra part, because that it's very dramatic, you know, on when you get to that low F sharp, that kind of wind, you know, that it's very unusual and very dramatic and very meaningful. And then really here, when you get to the trills, you're not the melody anymore, right? So really be hearing and know the score and really know where that melody is, because it's so easy to get to the trills and go, oh yeah, this is the easy part, right? But the mark of the real artist is like you really know the whole piece and not just your part, right? Because he's writing, it's not just a cello showpiece, it's really a dialogue with the orchestra, yeah? And I feel that you really get that, but I think in the parts which are not as technically challenging and the long notes, just make sure that you're hearing the orchestra in your head, because we can really tell. We can really tell. It really brings it alive when you do that. That's great. So why don't we start from vivo?
I start from the
rehearsal 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, great. Nice work. Nice work. So there's always lots of traditions and different recordings and interpretations and things that get passed down through time. You know, as a conductor, I always want to go and look at, like, what did Dvorak write, right? So when I look at, just if I'm just ignoring all the recordings I've ever heard and just looking at what he wrote, at 4, he's very clear at the vivo where you started, right? He's very clear that the quarter notes are quarter notes without a staccato dot, right? And that the first beat and the third beat, they should be the same length, right? If we look only exactly at what he wrote, right? So think about that. Think about this dynamic scheme, because he's very specific in the second line after of the vivo. There's a crescendo, and then there's a piano with a hairpin going up. So even though it's a concerto, and even though we have to play strongly to carry over the orchestra, he took the time to write that in. So I see that, I hear that as a subito piano, at least in character. And then he's very clear about that hairpin going up. I almost feel like you're sort of almost doing what sounds like the opposite to me, right? So lead with your bow. Go to the bridge with your bow, so to really make that hairpin very clear. And just look right now very quickly at his dynamic scheme, and then play again and see, and the note length scheme, and see if you can get those things. Good. So George, can I just a couple observations? Okay. One is at 4 that your up bow, your down bow length and your up bow length are not always consistent. right? So make sure that you're not letting the bow direction or where you are on the bow determine how long or how loud a note is, right? Like hear it here first. And then the other thing that I'm observing is in that hairpin with the leaps up, right? Your bow is actually coming back towards the fingerboard just a little bit rather than driving towards the bridge as you shift higher, right? So the higher we go with the left hand, proportionally, the kind of heavier and closer to the bridge we want to be with the right hand. Can you take just that part? So after 4-6 bars, the subito piano. Yeah, and just watch your bow. Just do it again and observe your bow. Yeah. What was happening was your bow was coming back a little bit, and then it was a little bit out of balance, and we were also losing the power of the hairpin. Okay. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. That's great. Let's keep on going from there and just keep going, and I'll stop you. Just as we go up into 5, think about where your contact point is. So the higher your left hand is, you want to actually lead with your bow up into the higher register. Good. Yeah, really excellent. So I think, sometimes we just lose track of where our contact point, right? So just know that shifts up, lead with your right hand. Lead with your right hand. So at 5, I feel like you were really kind of feeling the second beat, but I feel like it could be more. Use that second beat to launch the 16th notes off. And then to be super strict, right? If we look at the rhythm that he wrote, the 5th 1 2 after 5, 1 2 3 4 5. 5th bar is 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Careful that you don't come early on the 30-second notes. Subdivide the 16th underneath. Why don't you go right from 5 and then keep on going? I really like it. So, right at 5, even though you're not doing anything on the 2nd and 4th beats, when you feel those 2nd and 4th beats, it's so compelling. It really works. I felt like there's a difference there. Did it feel different to you there?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a question of like, it's so easy to just think about the notes and what are the hard notes and what's challenging and the easy stuff we sort of go like, yeah, I got that. But that's a question where like it was so dramatic when I could feel the 2nd and 4th beats with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was excellent. Great. Let's go on. Okay, and so let's talk just a little bit about meter and emphasis. Okay, so when we have something that's on the downbeat that gets emphasis, and that's something that it's on the upbeat, we lead into it. So look just at the top of the 2nd page, we have ta-dee, da-dee-da, and then ba-da when we begin the second theme. So can you show me the difference? It's the difference between ta-da and ta-ya. So because you're doing a whole bow and you're changing there. I mean, I would, my default would be, and I don't want to change, what you're doing or your teacher is doing, but my default would be those two notes are slurred together to try to see what it sounds like on a down bow with slurred. Yeah. That would be my default. And then if it doesn't work, sure, we can change it. But for me, it was changing the emphasis of the syllable when you were doing it the other way. Okay, so just try that one more time and go on. Notice that that's at the beginning, at the end of a diminuendo, right? So maybe that we don't want to overemphasize that arrival on the last G. And notice it's only a quarter note, right? Yeah. Okay, and then go on to the next one. And here's where I really want to hear ta-ya. Ta-ya, yi-da-da-ta. And really think about the long line and the singing here and continuing through the trajectory. So for me, it feels like it's fine if you want to break the bow, whatever you need to do technically, but it feels out of proportion. You're using a whole lot of bow for that pickup note. And then you have to kind of make up for it on the down bow by conserving bow and being heavy. So like the gesture is ta-ya. Can you play ta-ya, even whatever bowing you're doing? Sure. Yeah. Okay, good. That's excellent. Can I ask you to try, I like it. Can I ask you to have less landing spots? Da ya da 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 ti da ti ya da da. So that we don't stop. We keep the tension of that line after the D and the A. Da 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 ya da 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 ya. Goes all the way to the E. Just one last phrase there. Keep going. Keep going. Good. Keep going. Keep going. Excellent. Excellent. So what I love about what you just did was that the phrasing was so clear, and it was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bar phrase that wasn't too chopped up. I mean, you had wonderful expression and detail in it, but I felt like you were showing us, like you were giving us this gift, and here it is. Super, super beautiful and compelling. One more time from there and go all the way to 6, and then probably we're coming to time. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Beautiful. Keep going. More. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. I really, really love that. Just think about, in general, your pickups to downbeats, right? And don't make whatever you're doing with the bow, don't overemphasize those pickups, because you like feel like you have to get to the frogs, or you're using a lot of fast bow. Yeah, great work, really fantastic. Thank you so much, George. It was really fun to work with you. Yeah, and I think that was a great session. Hi again, Lilla.
Hi.
Wonderful. So I don't know if there's any questions that are coming in, or comments that are coming in from the audience, or František.
Yeah. Peter, first of all, thank you very much. It was amazing. And George and Lilla, thank you very much for your performance and playing. It was really good, and I enjoyed very much. And I like especially, your point of view as a conductor and composer on completely, different pieces, like solo cello piece, and then, orchestra cello concerto. That's what was very, very good. Particularly, I like the division, to see the music horizontally and vertically, which is something, like rhythmical versus, melody, which is like very often used in this. Maybe if you Lilla and George, if you could just tell us something, shortly about yourself. What are your, maybe we start with Lilla. What are your plans? What are you playing, and etc.
Yes, now I'm playing the Haydn C major cello concert, the whole concert, and the D minor Bach suite, and the Saint-Saëns cello concert, the whole concert.
Yeah.
Yes, and the Tchaikovsky Pezzo Capriccioso.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just want.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Next year I want to go to the Köln in Germany.
Fantastic. Yeah. And if you were, I just wonder if what is your like dream, cello come to true, something like you wanted to really happen, or.
Yeah, I would like to study the Dvorak cello concert.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. Czech composers always come fantastic. And maybe George, if you could just share with us something similar.
So I'm continuing to work on the Dvorak, and then I'm playing Rachmaninoff Cello Sonata in G, the Rachmaninoff Vocalise. Probably, if I did choose a piece, maybe play the Prokofiev Sinfonia Concerton with orchestra.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Peter, I just wonder what would be your advice, to young starting cellists, what they should do in terms of repertoire, studies, or anything at all. If you get any more suggestions for.
Yeah, I think it's always really interesting to see music from different perspectives. So, like I was saying, to go to the score, and it's important to listen to lots of different recordings and get different interpretations and be inspired. But a lot of times people play things that are not in the score, and we can make those decisions, is okay, but always come back to the score and look, like we were looking in Dvorak. It's interesting to see how he writes that. That's not how we hear it. That's not how most people play it. So to look that way, but also to, if you're playing Dvorak cello concerto, look at Dvorak chamber music and look at Dvorak songs. We can always learn so much by singers and the repertoire of vocal music that those same composers have. And I think going back to very old singers, like I love some of the old tenors from the first half of the 20th century. It's when we first hear them, it sounds a little bit old-fashioned and a little bit strange, but they have such personality. And for us as string players, they have such a sense of line and meaning, because every note that they're singing, every note that they're making has words to it. right? So it has meaning already, and it has a structure of the grammar and the sentence and where the phrase goes and what is the emphasis of the words that they're saying. It gives us the emphasis of the musical line too. So those are some things that I think. And I think also as a composer, it's really interesting to play contemporary music, because the tools that you need, the way you have to think about rhythm or color or using your bow, will make you play Dvorak or Bach or Saint-Saëns differently. Just like when you play Dvorak or Bach or Saint-Saëns, it will give you different ways of thinking about contemporary music. So I think as much as you can, listen, study, listen to singers, listen to different kinds of music by the same composer that you're studying, and as much as we can, get away from just the technical thing of how to make it. There's so much to do, and it feels like, oh my God, I'll never be good enough. But really, you both have fantastic techniques, and you're in great shape going forward. What's really going to make you an artist is what you have to say. What musically, what do you have to say? Can you know the whole picture? Can you bring it in context of their other music or in context of other types of ideas? Yeah. I don't know if that helped.
That's fantastic, Peter. I really love that the idea, or the explaining long phrasing and long phrases, not kind of dropping them in the middle of something to keep the continuity, which I think it's very important for all of us cellists and musicians as well. So so that's fantastic. Guys, have you got anything you want to ask Peter? Or Peter, you do have any more comments for Lilla and George? Or
Peter, who is your favorite cellist?
František.
Yeah!
Yay!
Who's your second? No.
That's a really interesting question, and I think I don't have one, and I think that it's interesting to listen to different cellists for the same repertoire, because, like for instance, Anna Brikciusová is really interesting in Bach, and there's other, I think I don't have one, and I think I try to listen to as many as possible, which is hard for I know what you want. You want to know, who should I sound like? These are the questions you're asking yourself, right? But I think listen to singers. Don't listen to cellists. Because it's so easy to get caught up in the technical things and to lose sight of the way that composers think. So yes. I'm not really answering your question, besides František, of course. Yeah.
Thank you.
But that's just how I would think. Try not to think as a cellist. Try to think as an artist, and give yourself that permission to listen and think broadly about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So thank you guys. But before we will leave, I just mentioned that this is part of this is Cello Weekend. That is part of the third WALTHAM Forest Cello Fest that is running mainly online this year in June. And we already have a few other programs, cello programs. The next program you can see in 1 hour. It will be evening with 3 young, promising and very good cellists. One of them is George, by the way. And there will be a presentation of 3 different music competitions as well. And with possibility to discuss, to ask questions, and the organizers and the young cellists. We continue with this cello weekend tomorrow. Again, with this cello webinar, 2:00. It's the London time. Then we will have a presentation of a cello museum. There is a cello museum, and they'll be featuring this exhibition of various cellos made from, different materials, like cellos made from ice or metal or glass and plastic. So I think that will be, really amazing to see this. And then we have a meeting with fellow students and colleagues of a legendary cellist and cello teacher Anna Shuttleworth. And then we will have this screening of music documentary film Makana, the contemporary cello concerto. So you can, guys, you can see everything on our website, join us on social media, subscribe, everything, etc., newsletter. And once more, Peter, Lilla, George, thank you very much for joining us today. You are all amazing here, and I wish you best of luck with your future projects, future cello projects, orchestra competitions, and Peter, his festival that is running right now. So thank you very much.
Just to say one word about that, I'm so excited about the cello festival, and all of the opportunities are really fantastic. We have the next Festival of Emerging Artists starts on Tuesday, and we have some fantastic cellists as well, including a cellist named Seth Parker Woods, who's going to be our guest artist in residence. And he does a lot of contemporary music and a lot of collaboration with filmmakers. And there's 4 weeks of free events for all of you. And this will be after the cello weekends are over. So I invite you to attend those as well. And I'm so grateful to be a part of all of this. And the cello weekends are great. So thank you so much.
Yeah. So fantastic. So please join our cello weekend and then Peter's festival starting on Tuesday. And thanks for watching. Thanks for your participation today. Yeah.
Thank you, Lilla and George.
Thank
Beautiful
you.
playing.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.